Hello and welcome to another episode of Gear Toward Gear. My name is Sean and I'm glad you're here. If you're a first-time viewer, please do consider subscribing and check the description for links to my social media accounts. So today we're looking at a pair of flashlights. They are identical and I did not pay for them. So in full disclosure, I got an email about 2 weeks ago from a company or a distributor, Wsky. They said that they had seen a couple of my videos and asked if they sent me these lights if I would do a review. A 90-second review, and this will be longer than 90 seconds, but I said, sure, send them on. And I made it very clear to them that I'm going to be very unbiased and I'm going to tell the good, the bad, and the ugly. And there's some of each with these lights. But I made it very clear that it's going to be unbiased. So I'm not bought and paid for, I never will be. And I think you guys as the viewer or the subscriber deserve to know the truth. So I'm going to give you the real skinny and drop some knowledge about these lights, whether good or bad. So the lights came to me direct from Amazon. They have their own Amazon store. And it comes in a simple cardboard box here. So it'll tell you a couple of features about the light on the outside of the box. It says super bright, 5 modes, zoomable design, waterproof, shock resistant, and AAA battery. And again, that's a 2-pack. So in the box, you get 2 identical lights. It is the Wsky model S200, and each light comes with a lanyard pre-installed. You also do get a tube to adapt this to accept an 18650 battery, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, as well as each light came wrapped in a bubble wrapped sleeve to protect it, and then of course a user manual. So let's talk about the basic specs. Let me get one of these out of the way real quick and just talk specs. So we'll get the objective stuff out of the way first. So this light is going to be 5 1/8 inch in length when it's compacted. Again, it is zoomable, so when you zoom it in by pulling the bezel out, it's going to be 5 5/8 of an inch. It weighs 11 ounces, so pretty chunky. The bezel end here is going to have a diameter of just over 1.5 inches. And you got your zoom markings there. And the main body is going to have a diameter of just over 1 inch. And it does have a pocket clip, as you can see here, and a clicky tail cap. So that's the basic size specs on this light. It is made of, or at least they claim that it's made of military grade aluminum. I'm not sure how that's verified, but that's how they list it. They also say that it's IP65 rated, and that's a rating for ingress or entry of foreign materials into the light. And IP65 specifically means that it should be dust tight or dust proof and protected against jets or streams of water, rain, things like that. So this is not submersible. It is not, doesn't have any kind of drop rating or anything like that. So a basic IP65 rating on the light runs on 3 AAA batteries. And if I unscrew the tail cap here, you'll see something maybe familiar to a lot of you. And it's the basic little battery pack here. You pop 3 AAAs into it, and that's your battery source. If you so choose, you can take this adapter that they provide and slide an 18650 into it and drop that into the light, and it will be powered by an 18650. It does not come with any batteries, any AAAs or 18650s, so you got to buy the batteries separately. And this 2-pack is going to run you $13.99 on Amazon.com. So you're paying $7 per light. And if you were to ask me, Sean, is this a $7 flashlight? My response would be, yes, that's exactly what it is. It's nothing more, nothing less. It's a budget offering, and you're going to get what you pay for. So I'd pay $5-6 for one of these all day long, but nothing beyond that. And we'll talk about the reasons why as we get into this. My biggest beef right off the bat, huge oversight by the company that really disappointed me, is that they do not provide output. So there's no reference whatsoever to the lumen output on any of its settings. So I cannot share with you that information. I do not know what this thing puts out. I can take a guess, but it's just that, it's a guess. So let's look at the user interface. So you've got 5 modes. You have a high, a medium, a low, and a strobe. And then your last one would be your SOS or your beacon mode. So to access the modes, as long as the light has been at rest for greater than 10 seconds, it'll always come on in its highest setting. So that's kind of a memory function. So if you click it once, turn it on, it's going to come on in high. If you do a half press, it's going to go down to medium. One more half press, you're going to get to low. Another half press to strobe. strobe warning. And then one more half press and you're gonna get to your SOS or your beacon mode. And then another half press, just same thing, cycling through high, medium, low, strobe, and SOS. You can also do the same thing by fully depressing the tail cap. So you can go, each time you click it on and off, it's gonna run through those modes. So either a half press or a full press will get you through the user interface. What I really don't like about the user interface, and again, this is some feedback for Wsky, is that the only way to get from low, for example, to high, and let's get this thing into low. So we're in low. If I want to get up to high, the only way to do so is to go through strobe and SOS first. And to me, that's just a terrible user interface. So if I want to get to high, I've got to go through strobe, SOS, and then I'm at high. And a lot of people don't like those features. The strobe and the SOS can be a little rough on the eyes for some people. And so the fact that you can't get straight to high from any other setting is a major fail in my opinion. And in fact, the user manual states that if you do a double tap, you should go to strobe, and that you can cycle through just high, medium, and low without going through strobe and SOS. And that's simply not the case. So the user manual is incorrect in providing incorrect information about the user interface. So let's turn it on in high. According to the user manual, if I do a quick double tap, it should go to strobe. But what will happen is it's going to go to medium and then low. So as I mentioned earlier, each half press cycles through a setting. So the first tap will take it to medium, the second will take it to low. So I'm going to do a quick double tap and we're at low. We're not at strobe as the manual would suggest. So the user interface I do not like, and it's also just misrepresented in the user manual. So that's another fail in my opinion. So not a huge fan of the UI and not a huge fan of the fact that we don't know the lumen output. So those are my two biggest beefs, I guess, with this light. I did do some testing that's probably a little above and beyond what this light's capable of, and Wsky probably wouldn't even have wanted me to, but I did it anyway. And I did it with this other example here. And as you can see, the pocket clip's missing, the retaining ring around the bezel, or around the lens rather, is missing, and I'll explain why. I did a simple drop test. I dropped it 3 times from 3 feet, which for me is about waist high. The first time I dropped it, and each time it was on high, I dropped it bezel down on concrete from 3 feet. The first time it switched itself from high to low on its own. The second drop, it switched itself from high to strobe. And on the third and final drop, it landed on its bezel, and upon impact, it switched from high to strobe. The lens and the retaining ring completely popped out, and the user interface was damaged beyond repair. So I was able to stuff the lens back in there. The retaining ring was damaged to a point where I couldn't put it back in. But if you look at the user interface on this example that I tested heavily, when I turn it on, it should come on high because it's been at rest for well over 10 seconds, and it came on in SOS. If I do a half press, where it looks like high, another half press, we're still at high, another half press, we're still at high. So it's not going through the modes the way it should. After several half presses, it may get to a different mode. There we got strobe, and I keep half pressing and it keeps staying in certain modes and just not cycling the way that it should. So the UI was completely damaged upon impact on that third drop. So the construction and reliability and durability, I definitely question with these lights. But again, it's a $7 flashlight and it's not rated to do that. So I say all that to say this. This is not an EDC light or a tactical light in my opinion. They market it on Amazon as being a tactical flashlight. It is certainly not. And no disrespect, but if you carried this as a duty light in any capacity in law enforcement, military, EMS, it would be foolish, because if you drop it in just the right way, you're going to end up with a light that doesn't work. You may lose your lens. So to me, this is a light to medium duty around the house utility flashlight. And in that capacity, it works just fine. And this is the example that's still in good shape that I didn't abuse. And all the modes work perfectly fine. It's got a nice floody beam. It'll light up any room in my house. When you zoom in by pulling out on the bezel, you'll get that tight square shaped beam, which is kind of typical for these type of zoomable flashlights with that visible halo. but the flood feature does work quite well. If I kind of zoom in on the table here, you're going to see what appears to be a giant hotspot right about there, and that does not exist. That's the camera. There is no hotspot to speak of. It does flood and light up a room quite nicely. And so for something to throw in a glove box or a roadside kit, bedside table, something like that, I think it's perfectly serviceable in that capacity, but nothing beyond that. I would never carry this as an EDC light or in any capacity in which I felt like I would need a light to be extremely reliable. So I wouldn't take this camping or hunting or hiking. It would simply be an around the house light. And I think that's really probably the intention for a light like this. The marketing, I think, is just done poorly by calling it a tactical light, but not giving you a decent UI, not giving you the lumen output. I think they just did a really poor job on marketing. So marketing was a fail. The durability from my testing was a fail. The fact that the UI is just not very user-friendly was a fail for me. And then again, the fact that we don't know the output is very frustrating and disappointing to me. But as an around-the-house light, I think it's perfectly fine. You're going to get what you pay for at $7 a light. And so if you're interested, I will leave a link to their Amazon store. If you want to take a look at it for yourself, you're welcome to. And I realize, not everybody has $100 to spend on an expensive light. And there's plenty of other budget options out there that can get the job done. But today we're talking about this light, the S200 from Wsky, because they sent this to me. And that's my basic thoughts on it. I think it's got its place. You just got to be careful. Don't abuse it. Don't drop it. And it should work just fine for you in a light duty capacity. So that's my mileage on the Wsky model S200. And thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.